10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 319. Hey everybody, welcome back into episode 319 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. So happy to have you back in, and if you're new to the show, welcome. This week we are going to dive into part 4 of our Practical Jazz Theory series, and we're going to be talking about those same diatonic cadences, but this time in melodic minor. So we're about to get really interesting with some of the sounds that we are going to play and learn and practice this week. But before we jump into the show, as usual, just wanted to remind you that this is a listener-supported show, which means we do not have any advertisements on the show. Just a quick word from me at the beginning. And the way that we support the show is through listeners like you. We are a listener-supported podcast, and we do that through small monthly donations using the Patreon platform. You do get fantastic rewards for that membership and that donation, including a PDF and audio examples with every single episode. So if you'd like to check out how to support the show, go over to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, get yourself signed up, and you get instant access to all those materials. Shout out to a bunch of new patrons this week. Welcome to our new $5 patrons, Joel and Colin, and thank you to our new $3 patrons, Jim, Swilly, Doc, Sean, Shohai, and Christopher. Thank you all so much for supporting the show, and welcome to the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson family, and of course to the over 300 members that we already have over there. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We couldn't do it without you. So again, that's 10minutejazzlesson.com. Click on one of the Patreon banners and get yourself signed up today. All right, so let's jump into the episode. So quick reminder of what we did last week. We were practicing our diatonic cadences, and last week we did it in major. So we took all 7 diatonic chord centers from the major scale, and we practiced doing 2 5s over all of those particular chords. So this week what we want to do is we want to take that same concept, but we are going to apply it to the melodic minor scale. And what that's going to do is that's going to result in some really interesting sounds. Because as you know, as we've discussed on the show a lot, melodic minor is where all of the alterations live when it comes to diatonic chords. So what we're going to hear this week is some of the diatonic chords are going to be very familiar, but the majority of them are going to contain these really interesting altered tones in them, which are really going to expand your ears, and they're also going to really challenge you when it comes to taking 2 5-1s and having them resolve to slightly stranger chords than they would in major, and major largely is very run-of-the-mill common chords, not so much with the melodic minor scale. So let's dive right in. Pull out your PDF for this week, and we are going to start going through these different key and chord centers, and we're going to demonstrate some of the 2 5-1s that lead into them. So throughout this episode, we are going to be utilizing the key of concert C, melodic minor. So everything is going to be based off of that key. So let's just start working our way through the 7 diatonic chords and talking about the 2 5s that will lead into them. So the first diatonic chord in the key of C melodic minor is going to be C minor major 7. One of my favorite sounds in the world. I love that chord. There's so much tension built into it. So what we're going to do is we are going to play 2 chord D minor 7 flat 5 to the 5 chord G7 flat 9, and then we're going to resolve that to the C minor major 7. So already you can hear that we're really doing something a lot different. We are no longer just doing a 2-5 to a plain old major 7 chord. Things are getting really interesting right off the bat. So the second diatonic chord in the key of C melodic minor is D minor 7. And we're just going to do a plain old 2-5-1 into that. So E minor 7 flat 5. to A7 flat 9 to D minor 7. The third chord in the key of C melodic minor is a really interesting one, E flat major 7 sharp 5. So another super interesting sound, another one of my favorites. So for the 2-5 in this, we're going to do a plain old 2 chord, F minor 7. Then we're going to go to B flat 7 flat 9. And the reason why I chose the flat 9 is it contains that B natural, which is going to end up being the sharp 5 in E flat major 7 sharp 5. So it's kind of fun to use that flat 9 as a precursor to that B natural in the 1 chord. Here it is again. Love that cadence. Very interesting sound. All right, going up to the 4th in C melodic minor, we get an F7 sharp 11 chord. So that's going to be our 1 chord. So we're going to do a plain old 2-5 into that, G minor 7 to C7 to F7 sharp 11. Another interesting sort of resolution point that's a little bit unstable, and that's really what we are focusing on when it comes to melodic minor, is some unstable resolution points. Great way to open up your ears. Okay, let's go up to the 5th. So the 5th is just a G7. That's going to be our resolution chord. So we are just going to do a 2-5 into that, A minor 7 to D7 to G7. That should be a very familiar sound if you've ever played the blues. Okay, going up to the 6th. So our 6th chord is an A minor 7 flat 5. So we're going to do a 2-5 into that, B minor 7 flat 5 to E7 flat 9, resolving to A minor 7 flat 5. And again, as we discussed last week, that's one that really sounds like it should go somewhere else, right? But it's still good to learn to hear that. Okay, now we get to an interesting place, which is the 7th mode. Now, normally what we would do with the 7th mode in the melodic minor scale is we would call it an altered chord. But I'm going to change that a little bit because resolving to an altered chord is very, very, very uncommon. In fact, I don't think I've ever really seen that. So what we're going to do is we're going to relabel that 7 to a dominant 7 flat 5. So in the key of C, we're going to label that as a B7 flat 5 chord. Okay, and we're just going to do a 2-5 into that. So we get C sharp minor 7 to F sharp 7 to B7 flat 5. And I think that's a really nice sound. So you can really see and hear how interesting these diatonic cadences are when they're not in major. Right? We have a couple that are the same. So like the 2-5 to the 2, the 2-5 to the 5 are the same as if they were in major, right? But outside of that, the other 5 cadences really resolve to very, very interesting chords that are going to test you. They're really, really going to test your skills and your ability to hear new things. So think about the fact that if you were to sit down and practice in the same practice session, all of your diatonic cadences in concert C major, and then you were to immediately flip to all of your diatonic cadences in C melodic minor, imagine how many sounds and things on your instrument you are covering at that point. And a lot of you might not be ready for that, and that's totally fine. I'm not even sure if I'm ready for that all in one practice session. But if you are looking to really challenge yourself and really test your abilities and your limits, that can be a great way to go about practicing this stuff. Do it all at once, and you're just gonna like confuse yourself, and you're really going to have to be able to get around your instrument in a really competent way to be able to handle all of these cadences. So what I'm going to do is, obviously I'm going to include the PDF for the $3 members. And then for the $5 members, I am going to drop that iReal Pro file that you can just load right into the app. You can put it in any key at any tempo, and you could start practicing this stuff in a variety of different keys. And while it may be really, really difficult and intimidating at first, I think you're going to see your skills jump if you practice this on a regular basis. So what I'm going to do at the end of the episode is I'm going to demonstrate 2 times through all 7 of those diatonic cadences, just to let you hear it, wrap your ears around it, hear somebody playing over it, and then you can get started working on this stuff this week. So remember, as always, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. You can get in touch with me on the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Community Facebook group, or you can always email me at 10minutejazzlesson@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to get back to you. Remember to grab your PDF for this episode and the audio examples, and if you are not signed up for the Patreon, you can go to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon links, and you can get yourself signed up today for instant access to all 319 PDFs that we've put out at this point. And thank you to all those people that are supporting us. Again, we could not do this without you. All right, hope you're all staying safe and healthy out there as always, and have fun with this stuff. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next week with another episode. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.